Hello, folks. Here we are again, left, right. Tom
I'm always right.
Tom from Western Maine, Gino from good old northern New Hampshire. Well, here we are, Tom. 13 days? 13 days to election,
Yes.
something like that. And we have been through hell. We've got to admit, this has been tough on everybody, including
Never boring.
including our vast
Never
audience. But we do have a question from top management here to
Let's
start
go.
the show.
Let's start right off.
And we should probably start with this. I'll do it the Limbaugh way. During the third debate, and we've never seen this before, have we? This is come out of the vault. Sergeant Garcia brought it.
No, we have not been. Unlike Hillary Clinton, we don't get the questions in advance.
Please. During the third debate, Donald Trump refused to promise he will concede to Hillary Clinton if she wins the election on November 8th. Instead, saying he will look at the results at the time. If Clinton wins and Trump refuses to accept the results, what will happen? Will Trump sue for election fraud? Well, he sues for everything else. Will he encourage his supporters to protest or even to riot? Tom, I offer that up for you.
Well, at first, the question wasn't, would he concede to Hillary Clinton?
No,
The
will he
question was,
accept the results?
would he used at the end of the question, which is, will he accept the results? And he said, I will if I win. And the question really goes to voter fraud, and is there any? And your side, of course, denies that there is any. My side, and me personally, I believe there absolutely is voter fraud, and we've known it since at least 1960 when John F. Kennedy got in, thanks to the Chicago Democrat machine and also some shenanigans in Texas. And so, yes, I mean, there are 4 million dead people registered to vote, and they're all Democrats. They're the only ones rise from the dead, even though they don't believe in that stuff. That seems to be what happens. We have tens of thousands of illegal immigrants voting. George Soros has been trying, and McAuliffe is
So you like Trump?
Wants to have convicted felons vote, and also illegal immigrants vote in Virginia. So all this stuff constitutes voter fraud. And this is something that has been going on in modern times, at least since Acorn and exposed by O'Keefe. And so I understand what Trump said. I think it's another thing the mainstream media uses to whack him with and to take the focus off of how corrupt Hillary Clinton and the Democrat machine are.
Well, you're going a little afield here. I understand your feelings, but 4 million dead.
That's what the question implies.
Yeah, the question implies that, but Donald Trump, here we go. JFK against Richard Nixon in 1960. It appears that JFK got some extra votes in Ohio, Chicago, and a bunch of extra votes in West Virginia. That might have been during the primary.
West Virginia too, and Texas.
All right, let's look at a more recent one. Let's not look at one that's so dark with dust on it you can't even see the green.
You're talking 1960. That's during our lifetime.
Okay, but what I'm saying is, let's look a little more recently to, let's say, 1999, 2000. Okay. When George Bush won the state of Florida by about 536 votes, that was the generally agreed upon final number, okay? The Supreme Court of Florida voted 9-0 to have a recount. Our great, glorious Supreme Court of the United States under Mr. Rehnquist, thank God he's gone, voted to not have a recount in Florida, with 536 votes. Because they didn't really want to look at it. Now, that was stolen. Even Pat Buchanan said it was stolen because there were 36,000 Jews from West Palm Beach that voted for him, and he was in favor of in favor of people that were involved in the Holocaust. Jim Johnchik from Ohio, as a matter of fact, for one. So, I mean, let's look at it.
I'm not
that election, and in 2004 in Ohio, when the owner of the Diebold Company, the President Diebold, said, we will have Bush win because we've got the machines. Now, he since died, which is another good thing. So those are two elections that you could paint either way, okay? At least there was some discrepancy. Now you got a guy like Donald Trump, the red-headed hotel in Trump on Earth.
Orange,
yeah. Sort of like Bozo the Clown, who comes along and he wins his primaries, every one of them. He was bragging about the fact, oh, Jeb Bush only got 2%, I got 24%. For 6 months, that's all we heard, right? Now he gets in a situation where he's getting a little bit cremated in certain places. Certain states aren't going the way he likes, like Georgia, 2-point difference, Texas, 2-point difference, Arizona, 1.5-point difference. All these different places they should romp through, okay? And what is it now? It's rigged.
You're correct.
The election is rigged. That's Donald Trump, who doesn't give one damn about the United States of America or its systems.
Why are the Democrats so against voter ID?
I'm not against
because they want dead people to vote. They want illegal immigrants to vote. They want people to vote only once and not several times, the way it happens. So many. There are thousands of people, tens of, maybe over 10,000 people registered in several states to vote. So, and who do they vote for? They vote for Democrats.
Okay. You say that, okay?
I say that because it's true.
I've worked as a poll watcher.
I don't trust Democrats.
I've been a poll watcher over the years in New Hampshire, okay? And let me tell you something. There's a Republican there, there's a Democrat there, and they're looking over the shoulder of the people that are registering to vote. Now, this grand scheme that you think of.
They don't have voter IDs, do they? They
Of
don't
course they
personally
do.
know. In Jackson, you know everybody that walks in that
They
door.
still ask you
right?
for your
But
license.
not in Chicago, not in Philadelphia,
They
not in
still-
our major cities.
they
You
still
don't know
have to
these
prove
people,
where
Gino.
they live.
No, they
They
don't.
can't just come
They
in and say, I'm
don't.
here.
They don't, Gino.
Oh, come on.
That's what your side tries to prevent. They say, oh, it's racist. It's racist because black people can't possibly go and get a voter ID. They can't, it's not.
Explain
they
to me-
You know, if they're going to fly somewhere, they do, but not to vote.
Explain to me why
That
a
is
state
why-
like North Carolina, okay, they used to have 31 or so sites where people could vote
We started
early.
off with a bang here, haven't
No,
we?
not North Carolina. They closed down to one
One.
place where people could vote before the final election. And why is that? There has been, look at, even the Supreme Court had to look at the fact that the states that were formerly charged back in the days of the Civil Rights Act and voting violations, places like North Carolina and places like that, went to the courts and said, gee, you know, we're all done with segregation. We got no problem. Well, as soon as the Supreme Court said, you know what, you really have been good all these years, go do what you want to do, they immediately slap in laws that slow people down, prevent them to get to vote. I think
Hillary Clinton has still not accepted the results of the vote in 2000. She says that
2000.
2000, that's right. She
Well,
just
I
had
don't-
Al Gore come and campaign for her, and they didn't get along for a long time, but finally Al Gore comes out and he's campaigning for Hillary, and Hillary during this campaign said the election was stolen from you in 2000.
Okay, here's the
she
point.
said it, Gino.
Here's
Now,
the-
then the mainstream media jumps all over Trump for saying, well, I'm not sure I'm going to
Well,
accept
you
the
know,
results of this.
Jeb Bush
She
was
hasn't
governor.
accepted the results 16 years ago, has she, Gino?
Jeb Bush was governor of Florida. When the election in Florida was, I mean, any rational person would say it was at least a little suspect when you had things that were punched out of a card when they voted, and the little Chad didn't fall off. Oh, shame on you. I guess you didn't vote for Gore after all, because that Chad didn't fall. There were tens of thousands of those.
It was a
okay?
tough situation when
no, it was illegal.
when Al Gore got more of the popular vote, but he
500,000.
lost by electoral votes. That's unfortunate. It's the third time it's happened in U.S. history.
But if you want to-
that is something that you'd kind of scratch your head about. Okay, I agree. I'll
How
concede that.
how would Trump take that result?
The Republicans had to look and say, well, the U.S. Supreme Court had to apply the law. All right, so they applied the law as best they could think of. If you allowed that to go on, because Al Gore would not accept the results of the vote, for how
did.
long? It took 3 weeks or
3
so
weeks,
after
yeah.
Election Day. While he was still trying to have it swing his way. If you left, look what happened in
Oh, my God.
in Minnesota when what's his name? What's his name? I'm good enough. I'm smart enough, and
Al
doggone it, people
Franken?
like me. Al Franken
Yeah.
got elected. They
It
had
took 6 months.
It did.
The charge was on the
and they
Republicans.
stole that election
the
away
Republican-
from Coleman.
the
Okay, that's what and that's what they
Republicans
were trying to do
Wait a minute.
in Florida.
We
Gino.
can't give this
That's what
vast
happened.
audience phony information. The
That's
person
not
that
phony
complained,
information.
the person
Al
that
Franken
complained wasn't
stole
Al
that
Franken.
election.
The person that complained was Coleman, because he was losing by about 260 votes, and he hung the thing out for
He
6 months.
conceded.
Finally, after 6 months,
He shouldn't have.
Gore conceded after 3 weeks.
He
and then
shouldn't have. It
swore
was
in-
stolen. The election was stolen.
Oh, my God. Now Minnesotans steal, too. huh?
Well, you
Okay,
asked for examples, and I'm telling you.
I can understand 236 votes.
Can you show me any examples where, I mean,
Where Republicans stole elections?
you say Florida, okay, in 2000.
It was a little suspect.
I know that's
you must
your
even
side.
admit that. You must admit that. It was a little suspect.
It was,
poquito.
it was suspect, and
There
I'm
you
glad
go.
they closed it down and said, accept the results of the count. Okay, that's
And
it.
Gore did
They were
that.
trying to,
Gore made a huge mistake. You know what his huge mistake was in Florida? He asked for a recount on only 2 counties.
there have been several people convicted of voter fraud. Several hundred people convicted of voter fraud in several states, and guess what party they
I'm sure they're all
they
Democrat.
all
All
belong
of
to. Yes, Democrats.
They
That's
didn't do it
correct.
that way in the South. All they did was
All
prevent
of them.
Well, they did it differently in the South. They just prevented the blacks from even voting. That's what they did in the South. How about
Who
Florida?
did that? Democrats.
How many thousand?
Democrats did that, Gino, didn't they?
I don't even know.
Yes,
well,
of
at the
course
time.
you know.
Well, you're talking about back
Don't say that.
1940 or something. Yeah, sure. When there
They
was
were
a poll
Democrats.
tax.
It's
If you
always
have-
Democrats.
Oh, please. You know, sometimes you're painting yourself into a big corner. As
I don't
as a
think
matter
so,
of fact,
Gino.
if Trump refuses to accept the results of a relatively large election difference, okay? Let's say he gets 1 million votes less.
You're worried about civil unrest, right? You brought
I'm
that
not.
up.
No, I'm
You
not
brought
at
that
all.
up
I'm not at
earlier.
all, because
When you
I-
asked the question, you said, what's he going to do? Is he going to foment civil unrest?
No, I don't think he will. He's going to have a TV network, the Trump network, and he'll be selling these idiots, the toothless inhabitants of his basket of deplorables. He'll be selling
Boy, we
them a
got
show.
cranked up, didn't we? We really went
They give us these easy questions to start the day.
The producer really knew how to
I don't
get
like
our
this,
blood
but
going.
you know what? At our next contract negotiations, which is coming up around the 1st of next month, we should have him fired.
We should have him fired.
Yeah, we'll have him for coming up with questions like this. He knows they're going to agitate us.
Yeah.
I even feel a little with Twitter. Go ahead, why don't you lead us off, Tom? I'll put you back on timing because you take much too long.
Because I do? Do I take
Yes,
my
you do.
too long?
Yes, you do.
All right.
Okay.
We've heard from, according to a report on, annual report on U.S. attitudes towards socialism. This is an organization I hadn't heard of before. Oh, it's the Victims of Communism Memorial Foundation.
Ah,
Anyway, they reported that 32%, 1/3 of millennials, believed that more people were killed under George W. Bush than under Joseph Stalin.
it's pretty close. It's like, I think the count, last noted count was 4,800 versus 40 million. Under Stalin. It was 30 or 40 million in the
There were
Stalin.
no people killed under George W. Bush except for soldiers
Yeah,
in Iraq
soldiers,
and
exactly.
Afghanistan and a few other places.
Mm-hmm.
But under Joseph Stalin, somewhere between 40 and 60 million
Million.
people were exterminated. And so the point is that our millennials, even college-educated
Don't.
millennials, just don't know history. And that, I mean, as
That's
a
pathetic.
retired history teacher, I can tell you that basic knowledge of U.S. history, our world history, has been in serious decline for quite a while. Theresa May, you know who she is? The new Prime Minister of England after Cameron resigned following
Yeah, I
the
didn't know her
Brexit
name,
vote.
yeah, Theresa
I
May.
have not known anything about Theresa May. I never heard of her until she all of a sudden became Prime Minister.
Mm-hmm.
Hadn't heard very much. She's starting to make some policy decisions and speeches and so forth. She didn't support Brexit, but she now is going to be implementing it. She's made a few speeches recently during which I was very impressed by what I heard. If we could have a woman like her running for president, then she would get my vote. I'm out of time, but I'll read
Yeah.
a few quotes during my next session.
Yeah, good. Well, Joseph Stalin was the man who famously said, "The death of one man is a tragedy. The death of millions is a statistic." That's how he felt about life and death. And,
Is he the one who said, in order to make an omelet, you got to break a few eggs?
I don't know. That's been said
order
forever.
to-
Actually, they say that down at the store, at Patch's Market.
Peaches?
Peaches too. Peaches too. I go to Patches in the morning, but anyway, I don't want to let my wide audience know. I want to talk to them. The thing
They'll
is,
be besieged by
Joseph Stalin,
autograph
anyone that-
seekers.
Yeah, anyone that
Yeah.
would say that is really, really stupid.
Say what?
Okay, about more
Bush and
people
Stalin?
died under Bush than I know.
They are
It's,
stupid.
but it's pathetic.
It is.
And I mean, people are getting college degrees that don't mean anything anymore, and it's too bad. And
I'm afraid it's true.
I don't know what the solution is, but the solution isn't for more people to go to college. The solution is for more people to get work that they can actually do something, like masons, carpenters, bricklayers, all the kinds of things we're going to need in the future, and nobody's going into it. Up here we have a big problem in the mountains. You get kids going to school, and when they take, training sessions at school, they're learning how to make breadboards. They should be learning how to run a bucket load or, this or that.
I agree.
Like Northeastern University has. They had that co-op program. And no one can step out of the box and say, look, our kids need 180 days in school, okay, other than if there's a blizzard, then they have to get a day off and then they go 181. The thing they have to do is let these kids go to school in the basis of what they're going to do with their future. What are they going to do? If they want to be exterior painters, have them work with carpenters and painters and do that and then learn the other things in school. It can be done. It's been done in Boston for years very successfully in university. So I think that we just go the total wrong way. We're not training people for jobs that they can make money at and survive and have a good life.
I just listened to you speak for 2 minutes, and I didn't disagree with anything you said. What's
It
going on
happens all the
here?
time lately. I think.
What is going on?
I know there are things like that.
It's going to be awfully hard to break up to think out of the box when it comes to the public school system, because
Well, you
the
ought to know.
teachers'
You're there
unions
long
are
enough.
not going to let it happen.
Why?
Because they like it the way it is, because they have a good thing going, and they control to a large extent the Democrat Party, especially when it comes to education.
Yeah, but the same thing happened under
The
Republican.
biggest,
It doesn't
because
change.
I mean, when I last belonged to the union, which was probably 20 years ago, I was paying $400 a month. No, $400 a year to belong to the union. Out of that, $350 went to Democrat causes nationwide, NEA, the National Education Association, the biggest union. Then you had the AFT, American Federation of Teachers, the second biggest, and together they were the biggest contributors to the Democrat Party. I believe they still are, except maybe trial lawyers are up there too. So you're not going to see things change. I'm going to go back to Theresa May.
Yeah.
If you think, this is a quote from Theresa, you're a citizen of the world, then you're a citizen of nowhere. Love that. She rejects both, this is now not quoting, rejects both the leftist idea of globalism, which is the United Nations and the European Union, and she rejects the right wing's idea of globalism, which is, of course, free trade. You know, the Pacific Partnership and NAFTA and all of that. But she embraces nationalism and patriotism. Perhaps, now quoting again, perhaps most importantly, once Brexit is achieved, Britain will face no more risk from the free movement of peoples, unquote, that being the epical self-inflicted wound within the EU, most disastrously in Germany. The open borders ideology, we might add, seems to be the sine qua non of the EU, but also of the American left, especially now Hillary Clinton, who was caught on WikiLeaks saying to a Brazilian audience that that's what she supports. Her
Open
dream is Western Hemisphere with completely open free trade and open borders. That is, EU, the North American Union.
Here's the thing, though, Tom, it's my turn. I know she said that, and I think there's a lot of people on both sides that say the same thing.
Well, there are
among
Republicans who
themselves-
support that. There are.
among themselves, because
Yeah.
what controls their thought processes is not common sense in a lot of cases. It's a business enterprise. I mean, we're in a business enterprise. This country, we don't ship jobs to China or Africa or
Mexico.
the Far East or Mexico. We don't ship them there because they lose money.
Oh, no.
We're in a money economy. So, I mean,
We are.
all of these people that are taking big bucks, and it's all of them. We talked this morning about people that are running for the House of Representatives. They run every 2 years. It costs them $2 or $3 million to get elected. And what do you think they're doing
Is
every
that all
day?
it costs? Is
Oh,
that the
maybe
typical
more.
one?
It depends on the state. Depending, if in a locked-in region, it probably didn't cost anything. I mean, whatever, but
When I worked for John Kerry in '72, he split the most of any congressional
more
election.
than likely, I think
And it
Hillary
was,
Clinton's
it
gonna
was $250,000.
now that the
he
Republicans
lost.
have backed away from Trump.
So now it's about 5 times that, so that would be, yeah, I
it's
guess you're right.
huge,
It would be
huge
in
money.
between, yeah,
So
$1
what
and
it
$2
is,
million,
it's-
yeah.
You cannot change that without a total regurgitation of our thought processes. Yes, it is better to have stuff shipped in and shipped out, depending on the cost of goods, material, labor, et cetera, and that's what's happening. If it's $12 an hour for a sheet metal worker in this country, and it's $1.85 in Saipan, well, it's going to Saipan. You can't stop it. It's inexorable. So, I mean, we have to be in that kind of. George Bush is actually the one that really pushed for this back in George H.W. Bush back
all
in the
did.
late 80s.
Yeah.
He wanted an open world society, and we're heading
Yep.
for it because I think it's the only way you can go, especially now with computerization. You realize they're reading your MRIs in China and in India, right? You call up because you got a bank loan shortages or something. You call up and you're talking to someone from New Delhi
What do you mean?
or the
When you have an
Philippines.
MRI, meaning magnetic resonance
Yeah.
imagery, is being read in India.
Yes, it saves them money. I'll give you an example.
I want, my doctor is not reading it? Oh, you mean it's developed there and
They'll-
digitized
they
and then
take it
emailed
here.
back?
It's transported, however,
It's not read, not being interpreted.
It's being interpreted there, and I'm telling you, that's what's going on now.
I understand they're doing the technology of it. Whose term are we on?
That's
Yours
okay.
or
We
mine?
can have a little open session on it, but the thing of it is, this is what's, all right, you call up because your bill is late.
My doctor's he's gonna have it in his hand, and he's gonna show it to me in the doctor's office and say, here's what I see.
Exactly. He may not even determine what the result. He may need someone over there to bring up all these various processes and say, this is where we are. Then the doctor will say, oh, yeah, I can agree with that.
Well, that can
Really?
happen instantaneously. I mean, you go from a machine over to India, and they
Exactly,
develop,
seconds.
and then back to us.
Tenth of a
But we
second.
still have it, and if it's not, as long as it's accurate. Yes,
Well,
we're
how long
doing
is it
all
going to
these
be read
things.
by him? I guess what I'm saying is, the long and short of it is, he's looking at it now.
I think what Theresa May is talking about here is economic nationalism. That
Maybe.
is, when you do something like NAFTA, that was the first trade agreement, really, that really affected people in the U.S.
Yeah.
And it was bipartisan.
Yep.
I mean, Clinton signed
all
it, the
ran to it.
Republican Congress, passed it, and everybody was on board, right? Well, and only, you know who was right about this? That crazy little
Perot.
Texan, Ross
Perot.
Perot. That giant sucking sound of American jobs going
but
across
they were
the
gonna
board.
go-
He was absolutely
They were going to
right.
go. They were going to go regardless. If you look at the whole process, the money is the object. Okay, profit and loss is
It
the
is.
object. Okay?
It is. But what happened was we were not economic nationalists, were we? We
Remember-
just we knew this. Ross Perot knew it, and he said, he was a billionaire at the time, right?
Yeah.
He traded internationally. He
Yeah.
was in the
Was he?
digital in the world, so he was a shrewd businessman that way. He's a little cuckoo in
You know
some
where
ways,
he made
but
all his money?
yeah, with
Where?
Texas Instruments, it
No,
was
he
right?
made a lot of his money because he did all the computerization on Medicare, on all the
Right.
all the paperwork. and
Yeah,
everything.
I mean, so the guy, he was right.
Yeah.
He was right. So now, do we have to pay more for certain products because America, so in order to keep American jobs? Yes, we do. And that is what you call economic nationalism. We did, before we had an income tax, which is early in the 20th century, all our money came from import taxes,
Yeah.
tariffs.
Yeah.
That are not all, but
a
most
lot
of
of it, a lot of it.
the funding of the federal government came from that. And it was controlled in order to benefit American workers, American businesses. And is there anything wrong with that? No, I don't think
No, but
there's
the
anything
problem
wrong
is
with that at all.
what happens then, the rest of the world dies on the vine. Now, so
They can do it too.
well, yeah, but they can't. Most of the people in the world wanted our products. So what better way to get our products to them than to build there and let them make them right there? I mean, this is what went on. I mean, it's
But
no
then
joke.
I
It's what
agree
went
with you.
on.
That is what went
mean,
on.
it's terrible, but
And that's why the blue collar Americans standard of living has been on decline
Of
ever
course.
since.
But there's another reason for that. Because under the last administrations, over the last, say, 12 years, actually since about 1976 or 80, a lot of the money has gone from the middle class into the top 1%. That's what's going on. If you just look at it, do you remember back in the 80s when they sold you, when you were 25 or 30 years old, and they sold you an HMO? Wasn't it the coming thing? Everybody was going to have an HMO, right? We are stupid because we didn't understand what that really meant long term, because now by the time you're 60, 65, getting to be 70, what do you get hit with? Oh, Jesus, the plans are extraordinarily
I'm going to
expensive.
point out something that there was a clue in your wording recently, what you just said. You said a lot of the money has gone from the middle class to
Tremendous
the
amount.
upper class. What you're betraying is your idea that there is a fixed amount of wealth and that it's all only in a matter of distributing it. I reject that.
Okay.
That is, it is constantly rising, the amount of wealth that's out there. Okay, so yes, American middle class has declined in relative terms, and our wages have been stagnant.
Yeah.
Because of
72,
trade agreements,
yeah.
mostly, almost exclusively. But that the upper class it hasn't been squeezed. You haven't carved it out of the middle class and then said, here it goes to the upper class. They have made money in the system that didn't exist before. So yes, there is income inequality. There always has been income inequality, and there always will be income
got better
inequality
after World War
because
II, though.
people are not equal in their ability to produce wealth.
Yeah, but in after World War II, the United States became the beacon of industrialization for the world. We rebuilt Europe.
Yes.
Okay, we rebuilt, and when you see
And
a
Japan.
picture of Japan
Yes.
and Europe, England, France, they were destroyed.
They were.
We went over there, we built everything,
We did.
backed away. During the 50s and early 60s, we also forgave all the debt,
Most of it, yes.
most of the debt. Now, you just compound that with even an interest rate of 2.5%, we wouldn't have a problem with a $20 trillion deficit. My argument is we've made a lot of stupid mistakes, and it's not just Democrats.
You think
It's-
it was stupid to rebuild Europe and Japan?
No. But we should have had some kind of a thing in there that said, someday we're going to give you a few bucks back for your troubles. We never did. I think the assumption was under the Truman
Give
Doctrine,
who a few bucks back for the trouble?
give the foreign countries that we took out of the hole, paid us back some of the money for rebuilding Dusseldorf and Berlin and all these cities. I don't think Americans realize how much the United States did after the big war to
It's
bring
not
those
taught, the Marshall Plan. But it's not,
the
it's not
Marshall
taught,
Plan,
no.
It was enormous. And even in Southeast Asia, we used to have a Southeast Asia Treaty. Do you remember that? It was just
SEATO,
like NATO.
Southeast
SEATO,
Asia
it's
Treaty
gone.
Organization, yeah.
We don't have that anymore.
Well, that was
know
more of
why.
a political treaty rather than an economic
Of course, what do you think NATO is now? It's not a
Yeah.
political treaty?
And we had one for North America too, or the Organization of American States, OAS.
Exactly.
Yeah, but those are political treaties and they're mutual defense
Yeah, that
treaties.
was an interesting treaty. Organization, wow.
Yeah, but
Anyway.
but now we have so those were nationalist in the sense, and they were set up to stop communism. They were basically part of the Truman Doctrine, to prevent the spread of communism. And so, but now these agreements tend to be trade agreements, which is not in the interests of the average American citizen. It's clearly not, and that's the basis of both Bernie Sanders' rise and Donald Trump's rise. Is the unrest resulting from those trade treaties?
Oh, no, I agree.
And
I
people
agree.
in
There
the, in
are-
the base of the Democrat and Republican parties both know they're getting screwed.
But one of the
and
things
they
we're
are.
not looking at with those people, and this is where I disagree with you on that process. Back in the 1930s, during the Dust Bowl, a group of people, an area of this country was just destroyed. Couldn't grow crops.
Destroyed?
Yeah.
Well-
by the weather situation. They had
Okay,
no
it
crops.
deteriorated. Nobody wrecked
Deteriorated,
it.
well,
It was a natural
People
process.
got off their butts and moved where there might be a new life.
Yes.
All over this country, there are states, like they talk about Ohio being in bad shape. Ohio's in very good shape if you listen to their governor. They've gained tremendous amount of jobs over the last 8 years. But Trump runs around telling everybody how bad off. They're not that bad off. Indiana's doing great. North Dakota, South Dakota's doing great. California's having a
They're in transition because of the jobs, blue collar jobs leaving, but other kinds of jobs are being started,
We
which was the
don't
whole
move-
basis for selling these trade agreements
we
in the
don't
first
move
place.
anymore.
But there's pain. But also, there's a question of national security involved here too, because like World War II, when we geared up to fight and defeat the enemy in World War II, we had an industrial base that we could transform over to making, in making
Sure.
war materials. We don't have that like we did then.
I don't think you need it. Really don't need it as much anymore. We had a wooden soldier army before the beginning of World War II.
But we don't have, our military has declined big time. We don't have a 300 ship Navy. We're way down. It takes time
It's
to
100
build
and
this stuff
something
up.
ships, but the point is, look at what we have. We have Aegis cruisers, Aegis I think they call them, okay? One cruiser, the way they are armed today, has as much firepower as was used in all World War II. Because they got cruise missiles.
Which is fine.
It's
and,
fine.
as long as other country technology aren't developing technologies to defeat
You
them.
know why? They're not as stupid as we are.
Remember when the British were worried about Exocet missiles? Okay?
Yes.
In
Up
Argentina,
in
getting them in
Argentina,
the
yeah,
Falkland
the
Islands.
Falkland
Okay,
Islands War.
that was a major. I mean, they had a pretty good navy. The British did probably second
And it
to
sank
the or
that-
third
they sank that ship.
after the Soviet Union.
Yeah.
But an Exocet missile, a French missile, could render it obsolete.
'Cause they flew at the height of,
But that
you
could
know, 2
happen
feet
at
above
any
the-
time. I mean, we're developing this new F-35, right? And it has a software system. They have to be, if they're going to take off from an air base in Turkey or the
Right.
Philippines, they're controlled by software in the United States. And if that software gets, look
Yeah.
at this cyber warfare. They could
Exactly.
disarm a whole fleet of F-35s.
This is why
That's always been
one
the
of my
case.
big problems with Donald Trump, not just the fact that he's kind of an orange-haired fool who likes young women, is the fact that he actually asked a foreign leader like Putin, the former head of the KGB, to investigate his opponents through the emails and stuff. To me,
Gino, that
That's
was
criminal.
a joke.
I don't think it was a joke at all. Well, have you
Absolutely
seen one
was.
email that's come
I
down?
watched it. I watched him say it. I
Have
saw
you
the
seen
context.
one
That was
email
a joke.
come down that relates to Donald Trump's campaign? Now, wait a minute. Have you seen one out of
We
WikiLeaks?
better time ourselves on this. 'Cause
Okay.
We're in
I'll go to
the
my-
realm of disagreement.
Well, well, which you all we should do in the show. But the thing is, if WikiLeaks is only dumping information that they garnered, a lot of it through Soviet agencies or agents, which has pretty much been proven and talked about incessantly, and a man running for president of the United States says, I want you to dump all your information on my opponent. Well, for God's sakes, what does that look like? Yeah, I mean, to me, it looks like treason. It's a treasonous act. I believe, and you're honest enough to admit this, if that were Hillary Clinton calling up, what's his name, from some young boy there in North Korea, asking him to unload a lot of information off the computer on Trump, you'd be up in arms. But yet, you believe this is just what happens. No, it isn't. Donald Trump is crazy. And he's setting up this situation with Russia where he praises Putin,
This is a long 2 minutes.
former head of the KGB, who has had journalists and opponents murdered. Go ahead, I'll give you the rest of the time. I'll start you over. Go ahead. Because it wasn't a long 2 minutes, because it's the truth. It's factual. Runs out of energy early. So
I
like Trump.
have no love for WikiLeaks and
Good.
for the guy in the Ecuadorian embassy in London who is,
Kill him.
he has
They
hurt
should
the
kill
United
him.
States by disclosing national security secrets in the past. Okay, but what he is putting out there is true. It comes from the email of John Podesta and Hillary Clinton, Huma
Just
Abedin,
John
and Donna
Podesta, not from
Brazil.
Hillary Clinton. They're mostly from John Podesta.
Emails from Hillary Clinton and from other people in the administration and from President Obama. So yeah,
how
it's from
horrible.
the whole and from the DNC and from Nancy Pelosi's
And what-
computer.
and what-
all this stuff, okay?
All political
all
stuff.
this stuff
All political stuff.
is true. And it is even treasonous.
Ah.
It is
Give me a
treasonous.
point of treason. Show me what
$12
treason.
million contribution from the King of Morocco to the Clinton Foundation in exchange for Hillary Clinton going over there. Also, an approval
over there, and what did she do when she got there?
of Russian uranium sales to Russia from the United States, facilitated by Bill Clinton, and millions of dollars in bribes. I mean, speaking
Okay.
fees
Now, what was the-
to
what was
President
the
Clinton.
uranium gonna be
All
used
these
for?
things, you see, are absolutely true.
But
Okay,
what was-
but what is the Democrats' answer to that? They say, oh, well, I'm not going to comment on stolen documents or stolen emails by the Russians. That this is a red herring. This whole Russian thing is a red herring,
You think
a
so?
major red herring, and the media takes it and goes all the way down to where
It's
they're
just the media
supposed
now.
to.
It's not the fact that
The
Trump asked them to
Democrat
do it.
Party is corrupt,
Oh,
and that is
okay.
being shown in spades by WikiLeaks. But no, is the media going to concentrate on that? No, they're going to talk about Donald Trump and the stupid things that he says.
I'm
And
coming.
they're going to concentrate only on that and not on Hillary's personal corruption as well as the whole DNC.
Yeah.
The,
okay.
the former and
All right, it's
present,
my turn to-
and the media is all incestuous
Yeah. okay.
together.
It's always the media, except when the Republicans are winning. Here's the thing: they have given Trump probably $1 billion worth of free airtime. He goes to Gettysburg, Pennsylvania last weekend to make a speech on the economy or something wonderful that he could get some action on. And what does he talk about? He talks about suing the women that have come out against him, all these sex charges. I mean, this is insane. The guy just does not know how to run a campaign. And he's got people around him that, like these guys that were with the all these various computer line wacko shows. They had pictures the other day of Hillary Clinton kissing an alien from outer space. I mean, this is not the kind of crap. Yeah,
I didn't see that.
Coming out of the fools, the Breitbart fools that are inherently dug into his.
What are you talking about?
I'm just talking
Hillary
about Trump
Clinton
has done.
kissing an
Trump,
alien from outer
well, you
space.
haven't seen it yet, see? Breitbart printed it, but the point, I'm telling you, but the point is, Trump is wasting his time because he's making no sense. He's mentioning last night, where is he today? In Washington, D.C., dedicating a hotel. He's going to get 4 votes in the area of D.C., okay? 4 votes. That's all he's going to get. He's wasting days. The man is totally out of touch with reality. And the people around him, his 50% basket of deplorables, that's exactly what they are. Have you seen their T-shirts they wear to rallies? You probably haven't, right?
You mean the rallies at which Democrats foment
No, I'm
violence?
talking about the rallies that these people that are supporting Trump wear to rallies. They are foul. They're the foulest things that ever crawled out from under a rug.
I think
They're
your rear end is
cockroaches.
out on this one, Gino.
I don't think so. You're gonna have to. I've seen the
Can I
pictures.
say ass on this
No,
show?
you can't. No, this is a
Okay,
a
then I'll say
children-
your rear end is out on this, okay? You're talking about Trump rallies. And
Trump
I mean,
rallies.
some of the WikiLeaks emails have told us about Democrats who have been paying people to start violent episodes at Trump rallies, okay? One of them is that guy named Kramer. See, it looks like Creamer, and he has been to the White House 340-something times.
Wow.
He has met personally with President Obama 40-something times.
Mm-hmm.
He's a convicted felon. He is operating to disrupt Trump's rallies by paying thugs to go start violence that the media will then blame on Trump. Okay, so, and you want to talk about free
Basket
media.
of
Yeah, the
deplorables.
media did elect
$1
essentially,
billion worth.
but during the Republican primaries, he did. He got
about
that
now?
much free media. Now, you think all this anti-Trump media is free media for Trump? It's free media for Hillary Clinton, isn't it? Right in the pinch during
Yeah,
the
but it's
month of
coming out
October.
of his mouth.
And it came out of his mouth in 2005, but and then NBC held on to that tape for 11 years and then put it out right before the first big WikiLeaks dump that's going to be an hour before. And you think that's a coincidence? I do not think that's a coincidence. Now, Trump, I'm not going to defend Trump and
I wish you wouldn't.
the stupid things that he says. But I am going to say that the media is in Hillary's pocket, and they are running this campaign for Hillary Clinton, and you can't deny that.
She's spending
But
a lot-
they can't put out the WikiLeaks dump information because
Read this from the
it convicts them, because it shows much of these WikiLeaks documents show that the media is cooperating incestuously with the whole Democrat machine, including Hillary Clinton. 45 different huge media personalities are right in the pocket of the Democrat Party, and you're seeing what they do. right here in this
I haven't
campaign.
seen
I'm
it
not going
yet.
to defend Trump, but I'm going to say, I'm getting a window. It's worse, and I was skeptical. It's worse than I ever imagined. That
Trump-
your party
yeah.
is the most corrupt I think we have ever had in
Okay.
history.
All right. I don't know about corruption. I'm
Right.
Italian. Go ahead.
Here we go.
I'm Italian. You didn't get that. I don't know about corruption. I'm Italian. Pick that up.
It seems likely that the Democrat establishment picked Hillary Clinton as its choice many years ago. Wow, this is timely. Would the Republican establishment be wise to embrace a candidate for 2020 in a similar manner?
You see,
If Trump wins,
No, sorry.
will other Republicans run against him in 2020?
if Trump wins, Trump won't win. But anyway, if I suppose he could win, but he
Let
won't.
me read that again because
Yeah,
there's a lot in there.
I got it.
It's a multi-part question.
Hillary Clinton didn't plan on her 25 years ago. She basically worked pretty hard to get where she is. And she ran against Obama 8 years ago, put up a pretty damn good fight and lost, and then magnanimously, said,
Would
"You're
you
the man."
think the Democrat establishment picked her?
Huh?
That's what
Well,
the
but I
question's
agree.
asking.
They always do that. The political wings.
So that's
do
a
that.
yes.
Yeah, of course they pick the person they think can win. You want to pick a person like
So the primary process is
What's
just
his name?
eyewash?
who was the guy from Pennsylvania, the senator? I can't remember his name. He ran a couple of Huckabee. You think they want to pick someone like Huckabee?
Talking Democrats.
I know, but I'm saying, would the Republicans pick someone like that? No, of course not. They're not going to. They're going to pick someone they think is a winner. I actually thought this time it would be a little.
Would the Republican establishment be wise to embrace a candidate for 2020 in a similar manner?
Okay, they
Okay,
do.
that's the clear-
They
I see
do,
what
but
you're
this
answering
time
now.
they made a very bad pick, because what they did, they had this festering group of people, the basket, which is probably 38.
What are you talking about? The basket of deplorables?
38% of the Republican Party, who were basically Tea Partiers, born-again Christians, lovers of Pat Robertson, Buchanan, all these people, and they had them in this a big group. So what they do, they brought in a bunch of people to run, and who did they bring in? Everybody that basically is half in the bag with Trump. They believe basically the same things, but they can't argue them on a grand scale. They can't. He differed in the way that he is really not like them. But when they started out, oh, he's one of us, until he started, cutting them to shreds in the debates and stuff like that, and basically getting free time. Because it's almost an obscenity that a man like that can run for president. You may disagree with Hillary Clinton and say, oh, she's evil, she's this, she's that, she's that. She's been working a long time for this job. She's been working 40 years for it. He comes out of this Trump Tower. You realize how big his apartment is in Trump Tower? Do you know how big
All
it
right,
is?
I'll answer the question.
Wait a minute. 75,000 square feet. And he's one of those boys in Ohio, right? He's one of the basket of deplorables. Ugh. God,
All right.
Republican Party. I can't take it. Go ahead.
Would
I'm not talking
the
about it.
Republican establishment be wise to embrace a candidate for 2020 in a similar manner?
The good one.
If they did, then there's no point in having primaries. We should just let the backroom, establishment elites in each party pick the candidate. And why go through this stuff about primaries, okay, in which people can think that their vote counts for something about in electing their nominee for their party. Either do one or do the other. That's what I think ought to happen. Because if you have this election process in primaries, then it should be a clean election process, and it should, and to the victor go the spoils. And otherwise, don't do that at all, and do a backroom deal the way it used to be done. I mean, this primary process, has really. The Democrats were supposed to give an open window back when. After 1968, because so many left-wing Democrats were unhappy with Hubert Humphrey. They thought it was a done deal when Johnson
vice
backed
president.
out and he was the vice
president.
president, and they wanted Gene McCarthy to be the president, and they had the riots at the convention and so forth and so on. So then they changed their process and made it more open. Well, now it's gradually gone back to what we witnessed this year, where the DNC, Wasserman Schultz and the Donna Brazile and the rest of them they steered it toward Hillary, and
Yeah.
they put Bernie. They weren't expecting this huge surge on from Bernie Sanders, and they conspired against him. And then they had to resign. Now Brazil is lying her teeth. That's another story.
Look, she's going gray over all this situation. But the point is, the Republican Party basically doesn't really get involved with the selection process. They kind of stayed out of it. Well, they might have supported Jeb Bush, I guess, more than anybody. Rubio and
Well, but he didn't win, did he?
No,
he didn't even make a
$100
blip in the
million.
polls.
Spent $100 million.
Yeah.
But all that time, all these other guys were running. Trump was ballyhooing how he was beating the polls. You know, he's got nothing in the polls. All of a sudden, the polls go against him. He doesn't like him anymore. Now, don't you find that you want that guy to be president of the United States? Can you imagine? I mean,
my preference
he's
is
dangerous.
I don't want Hillary Clinton to be there because I know what she's going to do,
What do
and
you
I
think she's
know
gonna
what
do?
she
Why don't we
has
take a-
done.
take a couple
She's going to
minutes.
carry us to the left.
how's
She
she
is
gonna-
going to appoint justices to the Supreme Court that are going to shred the Constitution. We will not have a constitutional government anymore. This will not be a republic. This will be a corrupt plutocracy run by crazies like Hillary Clinton. I mean, Obama has already, paved that road, and now now he's going to go that much further, and she is going to enforce this stupid law about schools where they're going to have transgender locker rooms and bathrooms, and pretty soon you're going to be prosecuted if you don't use the right pronoun with some person who can't figure out
See,
whether
those
he's
are
a
all
male
things.
or a female. And that is
you
what's
think that's
coming.
the end of the world? Suppose,
Gino,
I know him. Let me reply to
this
some
is
of your...
absolutely bizarre.
Let me reply to
what is
some
happening
of
here.
your stuff. You're saying that mixed gender bathrooms will end the world as we know it. That's one of the things you just said.
I didn't say it's going to end the world.
Well, I mean,
as we know
it's
it.
basically one of your big problems.
I'm saying
right?
that you're going to be forced to speak things that you do not believe, that you believe to be
They'd have to
crazy.
shoot you.
You're going to be forced to say them under penalty of law. It's already happening in New York
Well.
City under de Blasio. Already happening.
Yeah, but New York City is still the capital of the world financially. I mean, I don't see him doing that much. I mean, what's he going to
That's
really
where
do?
Hillary Clinton is taking us, and I could go on.
What about what? Then look at where's Trump? Where is Trump bringing you? What is the? What
That's
is
a
the
question mark.
glory of
We
Trump?
really don't know because he hasn't been
He's
specific.
insulted every Republican leader right to their core.
He has.
He's called them all crooked, disingenuous, which they may be. I've always felt they were. But the point, he's saying it.
When he talks about McConnell and Ryan, I got a feeling that he's right.
He knows more than all the generals. He said that. I mean,
He did
am I
say
hearing
that.
things? I know more than all the generals. What are you going to do with ISIS? I'll tell you what I'm going to do when I'm president. Well, one of the things he already said was he wants to kill all their families too. That would be.
What?
He, in a conversation, said the goal is not just to kill the ISIS fighters, but to kill all their families too. Now, he said it. I didn't hear that in
I think he did threaten
He did
to.
say it.
He did threaten to.
So the thing is,
yeah.
I'm afraid of him, not the way you're afraid. I don't want political correctness is bull anyway. I never believed it. I don't have anything to do with it. You know, I still make all the mistakes that you're not supposed to make. But I think we're in worse shape when someone like Trump has to wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning because some bimbo in East Concord, Colorado, calls in and says, oh yeah, he grabbed my hand back in 1996. He's got to be able to overcome that, and he can't.
Hillary Clinton will make this a North American union. She believes in one world government.
And I
She
think
wants the
most of them do.
United Nations to run the world. She thinks that the whole idea of nation states is passé. John Kerry has said it, that he believes in a borderless world. The whole Democrat elite,
And a lot
that's
of
where they're
Republicans
heading.
feel the same
and
way.
when Donald Trump, yes, that's true.
It's true.
Not as many as Democrats, but quite a few, and that's the problem. And when Donald Trump said one time, here's when he really made sense to me and to millions of other supporters. He said, if we don't have borders, we don't have a country. I am loyal and willing to die for the United States of America.
Who said
Not
that?
for the, I said
Trump
that
didn't
just
say
now.
that.
No, I
Trump
said
had the
that.
opportunity, just
and
had
so
not
are
to.
millions of American people willing to do that. We're willing to defend this country with our lives. I'm not willing to defend the North American Union with my life. I'm not willing to defend the United Nations with my life. I'm willing to support the Constitution of the United States of America, as written in 17 and passed in 1787, and that is what I am loyal to. And Hillary Clinton is not, and that is the fundamental reason. I do not want people telling me what pronouns I must use if people who I consider to be seriously mentally ill can't figure out whether they're male or female, and I have to go along with that madness. You're going to force me to do that. I will absolutely refuse. I will go to jail.
Well,
those people, I feel bad for them. They're confused. They are mentally ill.
Adults.
But I'm not going to have to be forced to pretend that they are not, because then I'm going to be mentally ill as well. But that is where she's going.
I know.
That is absolutely where that's just one thing. A borderless world, where there's 7 sexes. Are you kidding me?
I think the United States...
That's where your party's going, Gino.
I think the United States as a whole, its political leadership and its organizational leadership in the business world, decided a long time ago that that's the way we were going. I think it goes back probably...
This is insanity.
I'm saying just after World War II, that's where we began going, okay? We began... What did we do? What did we do after World War II, okay? We had the first nuclear weapons. Remember that, right?
Yes.
Russia developed the nuclear weapons by copying what we did.
Thanks to the Rosenbergs.
They were flying a bomber in the 1950s called the Bison, which was a copy of our B-29 because they found one somewhere, they put it back together again.
Yeah.
We began shooting rockets into outer space early. Russia got rockets and got on board, right?
Well, they stole German scientists just like we
We put
did.
nuclear weapons on top of those rockets, and Russia followed suit as soon as they could. They knew
did.
the danger, okay?
That's right.
We moved those rockets and put 10 warheads on every one of them.
Yep.
They began doing the same thing. We're the ones that have been leading
That's
these
right.
goofballs around by the nose, and then we decided, hey, why not put them on something really safe? Let's put them on submarines.
Yeah, where are you going with this?
The thing of it is, it's a grand plan. It's not Republicans or Democrats. It's the way the world's been going since the 40s and 50s. When we decided we were going to be the most powerful nation in the world, now it gets expensive. So what do? We start shipping jobs overseas, shipping our businesses overseas. And I think it's all part of a long process.
I pledge allegiance to the United States of America, not to the North American Union.
That's
not
true.
to the United
You
Nations.
made very well. But that's just a sop.
Well,
That's
where
a
are you
sop.
on this? Where are you on this?
I'm a nationalist, really. I think we
Do
should
you believe in this country? Do you
Yes,
believe in the Constitution?
I truly do. I truly
Do you
believe in
believe it should be enforced?
Yes, I do.
Oh,
Yes, I do.
I mean, thank God for
No,
that.
I believe in the Constitution of the United States.
Democrats used
But
to
I don't
believe
think,
that.
I don't think it's in cement. I think there are some things, like the military, the armed weapons, stuff like that, that Second Amendment, that I think if the forefathers had known we were going to have 100-bullet magazines on guns, they would have thought a little bit more about guns. They couldn't even foresee that. So I think it is a...
There is a process. It's in Article 5 of the Constitution. It's the amendment process.
Right.
So if you don't like the Second Amendment,
I
then
know.
rewrite it and go through the ratification process. Okay, that is,
No, I understand
the
that.
Constitution allows for that. Democrats don't want to go through that process because that requires popular votes in the state legislatures. They don't want to, they know that it'll never happen. They believe they know better than the American people what's best for the American people. And the American people don't believe that in the least.
Oh.
They believe that the Constitution should be applied,
Not
and
for
I am
nothing,
one
but
of them.
we
And I'm
have-
willing to fight for that, and I'm willing to die for that, and I'm willing to fight even people in my own country who are going to ignore the Constitution and force me to do some of the stupid.
I don't think that's
Stuff.
as dangerous as you think it is. Well,
Oh, yeah?
Here we got a question from top management. This is breaking up the...
All right.
Who will win the presidency? These are our future tasks. Win the presidency on November 8th by how many electoral votes? So we're going to
Oh,
write
man,
down.
that's tough.
I guess it is. Further, which party will control the House and the Senate? Give specific numbers. Wow. This is beyond our
can't do
pay
that.
grade.
I can't
Currently,
do that.
there are 200.
I don't think anybody could do that right now.
188 down.
Nobody could
well,
do that.
I think I can make a What is only?
You want to take it? You want to answer
I'm
it first?
gonna,
Go
I'm gonna
ahead.
write down what I think. I think Hillary Clinton will win. What is it? 200? What is it? 448?
270 electoral votes.
Well, what's the total number? 440. Isn't it?
Well, that's a simple majority, so it must be over
She'll have
500.
320 to whatever the hell the difference is. 160 or something.
Whatever, I don't
480?
know.
Trump. This would be mine. Hillary.
270 is one more than half, so where are we? 400, 500, 540 electoral votes.
540, 320.
Or 539 or something, whatever.
So, what did you say? 400? 400
270 is one
Oh,
more than
okay.
half.
Yeah, okay. 270. So it's 4, 5,
Four-
535, is it?
Something.
Yeah,
Something like that.
535. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you, top management. All right. That'll be the count for me. Now, as far as Republicans in the House, I think it's going to be really close.
I can only answer. You do your numbers, but
Yeah.
I'll answer in the meantime.
it's
Not the
200
answer he's looking for because
Yeah.
it's hard for me to
I think
separate
the
what
Republicans-
what I'm
yeah.
reading in the polls and poll numbers, which would indicate Hillary, but it's still 2 weeks out. That could change, and
Yeah.
it looks like her lead is diminishing. Then it's a matter of do I trust the polls or do I not trust the polls, and I'm not sure how I feel about that. I also know that there are people out there, like I have a brother-in-law. He lives in the woods of Waterford, Maine, and he doesn't often come out of those woods. He lives alone with his dog, and he does a roof here
Doesn't
and
come out
there.
of
He
the
does
woods?
it, he's a hermit, and he fell down and hurt himself, broke some ribs, punctured a lung. He ended up in the hospital for a couple of weeks. In the hospital, he's watching the news. He doesn't watch the news. He doesn't have a TV that gets more than one station, and So now he's all of a sudden woken. He says, "I've never voted in my life." I go to pick him up at the hospital all the way home. He's been watching the news for 2 weeks,
He's
right?
your relative? What is he?
He's my brother-in-law, my
Oh.
wife's brother. And so he says, "But I'm going to vote this time, and I'm going to vote for Trump." And how many people are there like that out there? Now, is he getting calls from polls like you and I are bombarded with calls
I
from
don't
polls?
answer the phone.
I know, but it rings several times a day,
Yeah.
and I don't answer.
You have
So.
to put your point. Yeah.
So, my hope, this
Yeah.
is my hope, because I'm against Hillary Clinton. I do not want to see that woman in the White House.
How would anybody get
Right.
the opinion that you're against Hillary Clinton? How
So,
would you get that?
I hope Trump wins. Now, I have to look and see. All the indications are that it's hers to lose at this point. I hope she does. I hope the next 2 weeks shows more of a surge for Trump, and I hope he pushes over. Not because I like him so much, but because she won't get in there, and maybe he'll turn out to be a decent president. I don't know. Okay, I think either way, whoever wins, we lose. The whole country loses, and I'm not optimistic.
The problem with him is he has no political savvy, okay? He's a builder who used his name to build these enormous casinos and hotels. And
I won't disagree with that.
I think he's been very successful at it. He's used his name.
2 minutes left, that's
yeah,
it?
come
Wow.
on, this flies, man. So he's used his
And I
name.
hope Republicans continue to control the Congress, although I don't have much faith in them either.
I think they'll control the House. I think it'll be pretty close. They'll control the House, but I think the Senate might go very, very close to the Democrats. That's going to be very important because you can only imagine the battles they're going to be. Over the next 4 or 8 years, we're going to have at least 3 or 4 of the Supreme Court that's going to go bye-bye. I don't even trust Donald Trump to do what he said he's going to do about electing conservatives. I don't think he really cares as a president. I don't think he's got any real, you know what I mean? There's no there. I mean, you can get a man like that at 60 years old, 10 years ago, to talk like that about women. What is he? What is he?
Gino,
You have no idea. What is he? What will he be?
he'll be like tens of millions of other American men who talk that same way. You know,
At
you had
60
one
years
basketball. Well, his testosterone didn't diminish the way the rest of us, but
What's
mine
the
had.
snorting all about?
But
What's all that
I'm not
snorting
saying-
about?
I don't know, Gino.
Did you hear
okay,
him?
I'm not going to be defending Donald Trump.
Oh, go ahead.
Okay,
I love it when you defend Donald Trump. It puts you right on the spot.
Yeah, just like you defending Hillary Clinton, right?
It's a difficult process.
I'm not going to defend either one of them. I'm looking at which one is the worst. Which one do I fear
You're
the
into worst
most?
case.
And I already know who that is. That's Hillary Clinton. And so we got a minute left. So anyway, when we meet again, then the election will be over. We think, but it wasn't over in 2000, was it? We'll see what happens. I hope it's over. I hope it's over.
I mean, and other
don't know
than
that it
that,
will
I
be.
will pack up and move to Ireland, where my forebears came from.
Yeah, you could still
There were
live
four
there.
four fathers and four grandfathers, yes.
Yeah.
All my
Forefathers,
forebears. Do you
that's
have
how
a
many
fore-
you
Do you
had?
have forebears?
All my forebears come from there.
Well, here it is. At the end of the show, thank you folks for coming in. Tom, thank you, Red. It's been a good show, I think, all in all. Our ratings probably went up 0.5%.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, our salaries.